Hi everyone and welcome on our channel Only Sky is the Limit. My name is Aleksandra Pilarska and I am hosting two special guests, Fiona Barnett and Martin McCann from Develop Liverpool. Why they are so special? I will let you to find it out yourself. Martin, could you tell us a little bit about your business?
So Develop Liverpool broker the sale of land and property, predominantly across Liverpool, but also across the whole of Merseyside. So we sort of split our work between land and property. So we would work with a lot of small and medium-sized developers who build houses, and also with a range of local housing associations who are based across the Northwest. So for instance, if we identified a piece of land, we would consult with the owner, come up with a plan, and then go and visit maybe a constructor or a housing association with the view of creating what's called a land and build package. So essentially you're going to the housing association and say, we've identified this piece of land, we can produce the following amount of properties, this is the cost, this is the breakdown, and this is what we can deliver it for, as well as obviously a time scale to do that. So that's one half of our work, and then the other half is brokering the sale of a range of properties. So it could be anywhere from a 2-bedroom terrace, a buy-to-let with a family, or it could be a student property, say a HMO, house of multiple occupancy. We do quite a lot of that. And then also it could be a commercial property. So that could be mixed-use commercial. So for instance, a retail unit on the ground floor, like a newsagents with maybe some apartments above it. And again, depending on the area, we find that works quite well. So we like to think we cover most aspects of investment, depending on what your sort of how risk averse you are or what your experience is. We like to think we can cover most angles.
Oh, brilliant. Can I ask you about commercial properties? Do you have a lot of questions about them right now, especially with the...
Yes, short answer is yes. So the big change we've noticed, especially in Merseyside recently, is Article 4 has come in. So basically a summary of it is in areas where specifically there was student property, so you would buy, say, a 2 or 3 bed terraced house, you would turn it into a HMO, so 5 or more people, apply for a licence from the council, then you're fully compliant and you continue to let the students thereafter. But last year, the council decided to change this. So they brought in what's called Article 4, which means if I do go and buy that same 3-bed house and go and try and convert it into a HMO, the council says, no, that property is in an Article 4 area, therefore we're not allowing any more HMOs. So the reason behind it is to try and keep the existing residents happy, because there was complaints about antisocial behaviour from, if you've got a load of 3-bedroom houses with families in them and it's quite quiet on a nice street, all of a sudden half of those become students with twice the population, and the history that goes with students and antisocial and noise and whatnot. So the councillors had to be seen to do something to try and help the residents, so Article 4 has come in. So yeah, big change in the dynamics of the investment market. So especially student investors have tended to sort of hold off in the meantime. And what you are finding is they're looking for different strategies and different investments. So commercial to residential has become a big one. I think it might start to take over the HMO strategy, which has been around for decades now. But because Article 4 is up and down the country, I think commercial to residential will continue to grow.
You've mentioned about a different law. How do you find information about, obviously, because when I've met you a few months ago, I found out, you've basically told me, I wasn't aware of it. How do you keep up to date with everything?
Well, you generally find, obviously, the Liverpool City Council is the #1 authority because everything's in black and white on their website. So always keep an eye on those guys. And then it's a case of, it's networking really more than anything. If you're into a specific market and you own those properties and you're renting them and then you're selling them to someone else, just by default, you speak to a lot of landlords. And they're always telling you the rumours about what's going to happen, what might be happening, what happened in the council last week. So it's a case of being involved in it on a day-to-day basis. Or if not, there's lots of publications like Place Northwest, Insider magazine, lots of guys that got around the Northwest that constantly release all the new up-to-date. And also your letting agent will always give you an up-to-date because they want to be seen to showing you that we're got a breadth of knowledge on the area. So they'll always provide you newsletters showing you this is what's happening, here's a link to the council website. So it's not actually that bad. The major things tend to get spread around quite quickly, and it's more the subtle things that you have to go and speak to people about, but it's not that bad. Yeah.
Okay. Going back to your company, how did you guys start its business together? How did you meet and how you became business partners?
I was approached. I used to have a business called Your Move magazine, so it was quite a big property magazine. We started that in 1999, and I left that business after 20 years of working within the property field. And then I got another job with a company called Ad Hoc. So I was the business development manager for Liverpool and Wales. So I was approached by a networking company to join, and that's where Martin and I met and realised that we could do
Work
stuff
together.
together, really, due to the nature of what my context, what I was doing, working within property, and Martin's knowledge and wealth of contacts as well.
Brilliant. How long have you been working together?
It's just close to 2 years now.
I think it's over 2 years now.
I think it's just over 2 years now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just over 2 years.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right. How do you help your investors? How do you find them?
So it's generally word of mouth. So a case of, say for instance, we helped you find a property and you were really happy with it and you were speaking to your friends at a networking event and they're asking you, well, how did you're telling about the new property, how it worked, all the ins and outs and plus and minuses of the project. And at the end, they'll always ask you, how did you get that? And that's where we come in, because there's nothing better than you referring us. Marketing's great. We do market, we've got a weekly post on LinkedIn, Instagram account. So we do actively market. We have a social media team that looks after this for us, but we also find there's nothing better than word of mouth and face-to-face meetings. It's slower, but it's better in the long term. It's quality connections, and you need that in property. They're higher sale transactions. It's not like you're buying something cheap where you don't need to know the person. You need to have an understanding. So you need to get to know each other. And also from our point of view, we want to work with people we like. And we're a fairly small, agile team, so we need to work with people that we know are fairly serious. We can help a first-time investor by all means, but we just have to make them clear about, we can't afford to spend a huge amount of time teaching somebody something. We can sort of lead them and say, look, here's how you go learn about it.
So how exactly cooperation would you look like?
Well, we basically assist the investor from start to finish. So right from, again, asking them what their knowledge is, bringing them up to speed on the finance side of things, the compliance, the local legislation, because we work with a lot of international investors. So I don't mind doing it. If an investor has bought, say, something in Hong Kong and understands the Hong Kong market and understands the general, isn't afraid to make an investment, shall we say, but doesn't understand the UK market, we're more than happy to take them through that. We've got information and documents we can send out and say, look, read this, come back to us with some questions, and hopefully a few weeks later they're in a position then to say, right, let's start looking at some properties. So we like to think it's a fully hands-on, start to finish process, so we help with everything, because we also find that if we're actively involved in it, things tend to go a lot smoother. We don't really want to rely on all the outside elements, because there's quite a few people, so everything from viewing the property with the letting agent, the surveyor, solicitors, we find it's a lot better if we're actively on top of it. So we sort of say, look, give us the details and we'll oversee everything, right through to the sales process and the conveyance. So essentially right through to the day you get your keys. And even post-care as well, we're more than happy to, any questions afterwards, we always try and help the client because we know that that's going to be a client for future. If they've got one investment off us and it's worked and it's performing, we know they're going to come back again, so it's worth continually helping that person. Plus, you've gone through all the effort of sort of onboarding them, getting to know them, so yeah, we like to look after our clients.
Brilliant, brilliant, that's great. Do you invest in properties yourself, Fiona? That's the
Yes,
question.
well, Martin, you've recently invested in a property.
Yeah.
I own a commercial property in Liverpool city centre, and I'm looking to invest further,
Brilliant,
which would be part of my pension plan.
your pension plan. When are you planning to go?
Yeah,
When are you going to retire?
good question. Obviously, everyone thinks 55 is a good retirement age, and you put that down when you're 30. But I think these days people tend to work beyond 70, don't they? And it depends on you as a person. I can't imagine myself not working. So, unless I was, unable to work, I would always want to be doing something.
I think the idea is you just have more control over your business to the point where you enjoy the work rather than you're making responsible decisions rather than having to do the day-to-day, sort of putting in the hard grind. I think it's trying to get to that stage, where you've established a good name around the city and that alone brings in a certain amount of business. And then going back to investment, yeah, that's something we're actively doing. So the idea is when properties come to us, obviously we look at them for ourselves first and foremost. And if there's great value or something that meets one of our strategies, then obviously we'd look to buy it ourselves. And if not, then that's when we start speaking to all our different clients. So we try and say to someone, look, we would buy that sort of argument. We look at it ourselves, and we line something up and say, well, actually, I had a better deal, so I took it, but this is still a perfectly good one. So we try and use that angle of, would we put our own money into it? And if we can say we strongly would, like if someone asks me, is an area good? If I know it's not a good area, I'm not going to lie. I'll just say, look, I wouldn't buy it. Simple as that.
So
Honesty.
so you basically answer my next question. What is so unique about your company? What you said that you.
Yeah, I think it is the fact that we're honest and transparent. We're a small team. We can't really afford to get a bad reputation. We're a fairly new business as well. We're all about getting that name for the long term. Especially when you get to larger transactions, you really need to have a good name. You need people to know that you're honourable and trustworthy. And when you're talking about land and commercial sales worth millions of pounds, you need to have something there, or you need people to say, look, I've worked with them, everything worked out well. And again, the word of mouth, I think, just means more than anything, more than any advertising or any type of high budget for marketing or whatever. So that's what we've relied on, and so far so good.
We also adopt quite a personal approach. So if we see a property that we know would match a certain investor or organisation, then we will go to them first, rather than, excuse me, sending it to numerous people for no reason. It's a very personal, direct approach. We don't send emails out with properties on. We don't market properties on our website. It's much more about, this property suits you. Would you like it? If not, we'll go on to the next really appropriate buyer.
So, for example, if you've got an investor who would tell you that he or she has a certain amount of money, do you have a base of that kind of investors, and do you show all the properties which you think that they will suit them the best? And
so that's part of the onboarding. So it's just the initial chit chat, just to get to know each other, like a genuine, even aside from work, just to get to know them. And then once you feel there's a bit of synergy there, the next thing is a list of requirements. Some people can go really detailed. I ask for more the better, because it helps me narrow. So a property will come in, I'll think, well, that suits Mr. X or Mrs. Y because it's exactly what they wanted. So yeah, the more information they give us, the easier we find it. And then also we're trying to establish how experienced they are, what stage are they at, do they need help with one aspect. For instance, some guy will say, well, I only want to add value and then refinance and take my money out, in which case they need to start getting a relationship with builders and surveyors and things, because that's going to be key to their journey. The next person might say, I've done that, I hated it, I don't want to know anymore, give me turnkey investments, in which case they need to go off and make good relationships with the letting agents, and we're there to do that, we're there to make those introductions. But again, we have to sort of weigh it up. You imagine, we get quite a few referrals, and we have to establish what stage is the person at, and are they serious? That's another thing. A lot of people feel they're ready to invest, and sometimes when you politely point out certain things, they disappear off for a while to learn or to come back or to rethink it. But yeah, we're there to help with everything.
Okay. Do you have any minimum limit when somebody?
There's no minimum limit. No. Again, we at this stage we generally know when someone's not experienced enough. Even if they have a relatively small amount of money, they might have a portfolio and have just saved up that next bit of money, and might be relatively experienced and just happen to have a small amount of money at the time. More than happy to help them. At that stage, we pitch a variety of solutions. So we'll say, a straight purchase. So for instance, a buy-to-let property in a nice area of Liverpool that a family will stay in, that makes anywhere from £500 to say £700 a month. That's the sort of the vanilla standard buy-to-let investment. So we try to offer things like that. And then obviously, as I said, the student property investment, we're quite well versed in that. We've got a good connections across Liverpool in that, and we really understand the market, specifically down to street by street location. So yeah.
Brilliant. Right, I have to stop you here. We have to finish the first part of our conversation, where obviously we know now how these two became business partners. In the second part, we will talk more about set of mind, also about dreams and desires these two had, and if they had any obstacles. If you like our video, please hit the like button, and see you in the second part.